This is Mastering Mathematics with your teacher, Karen Weston.
Hello, welcome to Mastering Mathematics. I am Karen Weston, and this is a program sponsored by the Ministry of Education using its ABU unit and ABS Television. I know you're learning your mathematics, and I am so pleased that we will continue this challenge, because in a minute all of us are going to be mathematic wizards. Last week we ended off where we were starting. Elizabeth and I were here, and we ended off where we gave you everything about gradient. You have done the topic. So guess what? This week I am taking you to the examination questions, and you're going to see there is nothing in the questions besides what you would have learned. What did you learn? The first thing we told you, that when we're talking about gradient, we know right away that the gradient refers to the slope or the steepness of any line that we're going to be talking with in our geometrical plane. We gave you the technique as to how we could find a gradient, and practically Elizabeth told you that it was the rise, so your y-axis over your horizontal. Okay, we said to you, if we have 2 points, so we have the gradient. Okay, gradient. Oh, let's do it over here where you can see. Want the gradient. If we have 2 points, A, which is x1, y1, B, x2, y2, then the gradient is equal to, and we can start, because it's a straight line, y1 minus y2, and it's over x1 minus x2. So whichever bracket we're going to start with first as our first number, we're going to make that for the y's, we're going to make it the same for the x's. Okay? So that is the first thing that we're having. And we said that you could have started this too. The gradient could also be written as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And for each, you would still get the same answer. So we know how to find the gradient given a line. But even before we got to the gradient, we gave you the equation of the line. What is the general format for the equation of any line? And we said if we had a line, we could say that the format would be y is equal to mx plus c, where m would represent the gradient and c would tell us where it cuts the y-axis. Cuts the y-axis. Okay? And it is this combination then of finding the gradient, of getting where it passes through a particular point, finding the value of c, that we would be able to generate and to find the equation of any straight line. We also told you that there are times when you're going to have lines, and we say that the two lines are parallel to each other. And what did we say? Yes, if the gradients are the same, then the lines are parallel. All right, so we can say that if we have G1 and it's equal to G2, then we have the lines and they are parallel. Okay, and we gave you some examples. Let's look at them again. You could have had y is equal to 5x plus 4, y is equal to 5x minus 9, y is equal to 5x, and it could be plus 2. Because the coefficient of the x term which represents the gradient of the line, is 5, okay, for each of these lines, then these 3 lines are parallel to each other. The fact that you have +4 and that we have -9 and we have +2 tells us that they will be cutting the x-axis at different spots, different locations, okay? So we are aware how to find the gradient, what the gradient means, what we mean when we say 2 lines are parallel. In addition to that, we went on and we told you about perpendicular lines, and we said a line would be perpendicular to a given line if the product of the gradient would be equal to -1. That is, since the gradient of, let's take this line, y is equal to 5x plus 4. Since the gradient is equal to 5, then any line perpendicular to this line would be equal, the gradient of that line would have been equal to -1/5, because we could see that 5 times -1/5 would be equal to -1. So what do we say? If we know the gradient of a line, that gradient, if we turn it upside down, and for if we cough on the cone and then change the sign, then we'll see that the gradient would be the inverse of what we have, the negative sign, okay? If it was a negative gradient, it would be changed to a positive sign. So, what did I do? We have set you up. We have recalled everything that you're supposed to know, and now we are going to take you straight to the examination paper. But before you do this, I'm going to give you a chance to have an eyeball look at the information that we'll be using to find these problems. Yes, it's time for your break. Go and do whatever you want to. Take some fresh air and come right back, because I will be waiting.
If you know the answer to a question is incorrect and you cannot find the mistake, start over on a clean piece of paper. Oftentimes when you try to correct a problem, you continually overlook the mistake. Starting over on a clean piece of paper will let you focus on the question, not on trying to find the error. Always read math problems completely before beginning any calculations. If you glance too quick at a problem, you may misunderstand what really needs to be done to solve the problem.
Right, we're right back and everybody's in position. But you know what? Just before I get to you with the examination questions, I know my little people are waiting, and I promised them 2 weeks ago that I would have had the questions to give them. So for my grade 2 students, the first thing Auntie Karen wants you to do is to make certain that you can say your 2 times table. All right, so you're going to write out your 2 times table and give it to your mommy, because when I meet her, I'm going to ask you if you did it. All right. The other thing, I hope you have your pens, your paper, and your little book right there, because what I want you to do now is to add. All right. And the numbers we're going to add would be 15 plus 4. 15 plus 4. Can we write 15? Yes, of course we can. And you're also going to be adding 4 plus 15, because you're going to tell me a story about that. So again, so you're going to be adding 15 plus 4 and also 4 plus 15. After that, because I'm going to leave you quietly to work, you're going to be doing 2 subtractions also for me, okay? And you will be subtracting 19 minus 4, 19 minus 4, and yes, 20 minus 5. 20 minus 5. All right. So while the other people are getting ready and prepared for something else, you will be doing that. My grade 4 and my grade 6 students, you will be doing the same problem today. All right. There are certain things that we can see. They're small enough for the grade 4 and big and at a reasonable pace for my grade 6. First thing you will be doing, telling me by writing them, what are the first 3 multiples of 9? What are the first 3 multiples of 9? Okay. After that, your next question, what number must be added to 576 to make 1275? What number must be added to 576 to make 1275? And your last question for today, if $900 is shared between 2 men in the ratio 3:6, what is the smaller share? Listen to the question again. If $900 is shared between 2 men in the ratio 3:6, what is the smaller share? All right, so nobody can feel left out. And from now on, yes, I'm going to be addressing you to see exactly that you too will be able to get prepared for your examinations. All right, so my grade 2, my grade 4, and grade 6 students, you know exactly what you will be doing. Now turn our attention immediately back to my 5th formers and my aunties and uncles and brothers and sisters and even middle school students who are also challenging themselves but still ask your questions. The parts that I can answer, I will, and may be able to direct you to some people who do those technical drawing and vocational stuff so that the whole education process is continued. Okay, now 5th formers, and this came from the CXC examination paper 2002. Question: calculate the gradient of the line AB, and I've drawn it on the board for you. Calculate the gradient of the line AB. Okay, so the question started and it said, the diagram above is on the board here, not drawn to scale, shows the line AB passing through the points, and they have given us the points. These points are not drawn accurately here either. It's 2, 1, okay, and the point 4, -3. 4, -3. These are the points. So we have to calculate the gradient of that line AB. And we are up to the task. Because the first thing we're going to observe is that we have 2 points. So we must be using our x1s and y1s. All right? So the first thing we're going to do is to state the formula for the equation of the gradient. And so it says the gradient would be equal to y1 minus y2, and it's over our x1 minus x2. Okay? We would just choose which bracket we would be calling our x1s, and so we may choose to say the A would represent our x1s and the B would represent our x2s. So this bracket represents our x1, y1, and this represents our x2, y2. All right? So all we're doing, we're just substituting the numbers. So we would now be writing, and it's now equal to, what is y1? Yes, it is 1, and it's minus y2, not in the same bracket as y1. So, okay, so don't mix them up. y1s, these are the y1s, these are the y2s. So y1 and y2 would not be in the same bracket. All right? So we have y1 minus y2, and y2 would be equal to -3. Anytime we're getting a negative number, put it in a bracket, because that negative sign for the number does not take away from the negative sign in the formula. And that is where the mistakes are made most of the times. Okay? So it's -3. Put it in a bracket. The name of that number is -3, and it does not represent the negative in the formula. Okay? And then now it's over, and again x1, and the x1 would be equal to 2, and it's minus, and again the x2 and x1s are not in the same bracket, and here we have x2, which is equal to 4. Right? And that is all it boils down to. All right? So we are now going to say it's now equal, and it's 1. A negative times a negative would give you a, right, positive, plus 3, and it's over 2 minus 4. Which number is bigger? -4, right? By how many? 2. So we would be getting a -2 down here. So that the answer would be 4 over, and it is the -2 which makes the whole thing a negative, which is now equal to -2 as the gradient. All right? Now, because we would have been prepared for our exams, by the time we reach this step here, we would be checking right away and saying that's just 4 over -2 to give you our gradient. So the gradient of that line is -2. Our next question says, write the equation of the line. Okay? Write the equation of the line. And what do we have? Do we know anything about a general form for an equation? And what are we saying? Yes, we do have the general form for the equation. What is it? Good. Yes. What are you saying? It is y is equal to mx plus c. Correct. And what did we say these letters represent? Yes, the m immediately tells us it's the gradient, and we have found it. So it's now equal to -2x plus c. How are we going to find a value for c? What are you saying? We have 2 points? Yes. So, right, that is it. The only thing we have to do to find the value for c is to use one of those 2 points. We can choose to use the b coordinates or the a coordinates, get our value for c, and so we would get the equation of the line. How are we going to know which one we're going to use? Right, what did we say? No points for heroism. No points for using the biased numbers. So we are always going to look to use the smallest numbers. That is right. So we are going to use A. And that is how we choose our numbers, because we are going to use the smallest numbers. All right. So here we're going to say when A, and we have is equal to 2, 1. That would give us that. Where we have y, we're going to substitute the value 1 for it. So it would be 1 would be equal to 2. And in the equation where we have x, it's multiplied by 2. So it's 2 times 2, and it's plus c. So we would have 1 is equal to 4 plus c. And we can say immediately that c would be equal to 1 minus 4. So c is equal to negative 3. Where did that minus 4 come from? Remember, we had 4 on the other side, and we're crossing an equal sign. So it comes over as negative 4. That is right. So we have c is equal to 1 minus 4. Now we can substitute a value for c into the equation. So we have our equation as y is equal to negative 2x minus 3. And that's the equation that we had to find. Y is equal to negative 2x minus 3. Nothing more than the information that you were given. Nothing more than what you had to use. Now, the next part of the question says, oh, let's get some of this off the board so that you can see. So here we are at the second part of the question, which says CD is the line parallel to AB and passes through the origin. Now there are 2 important words in that statement, and that is what we are looking for to help us with whatever is to come. Read it again. CD is parallel. This is important for us to know, okay? That word parallel, okay? Because immediately you tell yourself any line parallel to AB will have the same gradient. All right? So there's one thing already we know about CD. We know that CD is equal to a gradient of negative 2. That is the first information that we can get. And what else did they tell us? And passes through the origin. All right? Passes through the origin. So what do we know? We know a coordinate on that line, okay, because the origin is right here. And what do we know about the values of x and y? Right, so that at O it would be equal to 0, 0. So we have 2 sets of information in that particular statement. And you know what they're going to ask us to? Write the equation of the line. Write the equation of the line. And guess what? I don't want to spoil your sport, because I know you can do it. I just showed you how to get your information. We did an equation of a straight line already. I'm going to send you home tonight, and you are going to get that equation and the straight line. Tomorrow, I'm going to ask, and I'm going to hear if you did it correctly. So, don't put up your books as yet. Sit, complete your work, and then afterwards, you can go and have a big dinner. Good night, and enjoy mastering mathematics. We will see you again tomorrow.
Join us next time for another in the series, Mastering Mathematics, a production of the Education Broadcasting Unit in the Ministry of Education and ABS TV.